Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be reading some crazy Reddit stories while I play around in my Minecraft realm. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a few things. First, if you want me to read a story of your own or a story that you found online that you think would be an interesting read, feel free to send it to the email linked down in the description. And secondly, I just want to say thank you to you all. I started posting these Reddit stories while playing Minecraft videos about 3 weeks ago, and we're already at over 200 subscribers. Wow, I am just so appreciative of you guys tuning into my videos and, giving me commenting and letting me know how I can make them better for you, or just giving me, words of encouragement. They really are appreciated. They mean the world to me, and I can't thank you all enough for tuning into these videos. Like I said, it truly does mean the world to me. And I can't wait to continue to make more videos like this and continue to grow this community with you guys. So again, just thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our first Reddit story. The first story that we're going to read today is on r slash am I in the wrong and is titled Was I wrong for blocking a girl after she kept asking me to buy her food? I, 23 male, met a girl, 18 female, here on Reddit. She DM'd me first. We talked for around 12 days. I was just being friendly, and after a couple of days, she asked for my Instagram. We started talking there and would often chat late into the night. She told me she was preparing for NEET, and at one point she had fallen for me and found me attractive. The thing that started bothering me was that almost every other day she'd hint that I should order her food on Zomato. She'd also send me reels of clothes with captions like, Buy me this. I told her honestly that I had spent a huge amount of money on multiple surgeries recently. I'm currently unemployed and I can't casually spend money on people. She would laugh it off and say she was just kidding. But today, she directly asked me to order something for her. I refused. After that, she changed her attitude completely. She started saying things like, You're not my type. My type is a 23-year-old guy who has enough money, and made several comments implying I wasn't good enough because I wouldn't spend money on her. That really put me off. We'd only known each other for 12 days, had never met in person, and she had already hinted or asked me to buy her things around 6 different times. To me, it started feeling less like flirting and more like entitlement. I had a long term girlfriend in the past, and I happily paid for meals and gifts because we were actually in a relationship. This situation felt completely different. I barely knew this girl, wasn't even sure I was romantically interested in her, and yet there seemed to be an expectation that I should start paying for her food. So I blocked her. Am I in the wrong? That story is now over. I do not think this poster is in the wrong. First off, they weren't in a relationship. Second off, you'd only known her for 12 days. And it said that the poster said that she had asked for food or gifts at least 6 times. So every other day, she was either asking for food or for a gift. Absolutely not. You don't actually know this girl. I mean, you've become, I guess, virtual friends, you could say, but you don't, that's the only sense that you actually know this girl. Like you said, you had a girlfriend in the past, you were actually in a relationship, you didn't mind buying gifts or buying food. That's completely different. I thought the top comment was kind of funny. She got 11 more days than she should have. And I kind of agree. It sounds like this girl was low key e bagging this poster for food and for gifts. And that's kind of wild. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and we'll go ahead and dive into another story. So our next story is coming from r slash scary stories. The title is I Probably Met a Time Traveler in 2005. It must have been around 2005. I was walking home from school on a very rainy day when a woman started walking beside me. She looked to be around 35 or 40 years old. She was well dressed, calm, and seemed completely normal. Even now, I can still picture her unusual style. It was as if she had been frozen in the fashion of the 1960s or 1970s and somehow stepped through a portal into the year 2005. At one point, she dropped her wallet, so I picked it up and handed it back to her. That's how our conversation started. I don't remember exactly how, but somehow we ended up talking about religion. Then she began saying some very strange things about religion, extraterrestrials, and hidden mysteries. She claimed that aliens had come to Earth a long time ago and had been living among us ever since. She said that one day they would remove their disguises and reveal themselves. She also talked about how, long before humans, Earth had been inhabited by extraterrestrial beings who had built highly advanced cities and civilizations. Those are the parts of the conversation that have stayed with me the most. Looking back on it now, I can't help wondering whether she was just a huge science fiction fan or whether she was dealing with grandiose or paranoid beliefs. The strange thing is that she didn't come across as someone who was mentally unstable. She spoke calmly, looked completely put together, and seemed perfectly rational. Anyway, to keep this story short, we eventually reached my neighborhood. I told her it was nice talking to you, but this is where I turn. She smiled, said take care, and we went our separate ways. A few seconds later, I thought, wait, I've never even asked for her name. She intrigued me so much that I turned around to look for her. She was gone. I know there was a side alley on the left, so it's entirely possible she simply turned into it. Still, the way she seemed to vanish so quickly felt incredibly strange. Even after all these years, I still wonder who she truly was. That story is now over. Alright, that is an interesting story. I kind of find it funny. I feel like the poster kind of broke it down pretty good within the story. Either they are like a science fiction fan, or maybe they have some weird beliefs, or maybe they're a time traveler. Who's to truly say? I'm guessing it's one of those three. But let me know what you guys think of that story down in the comments below. We'll go ahead and dive into our next story. So, our next story is titled, We Had a Visitor Once. Back in 2023, my husband and I used to rent a small house that was tucked away behind a church with a graveyard. It was called St. Peter's Church, founded in the year 1752. Surprisingly, we didn't have many encounters with spirits or ghosts during the 2 years we lived there, but we definitely had one experience. We had been told by the landlord that there were many renovations to the house, including a staircase that had been removed, so we had some light switches in strange places, but still functional, like one near the ceiling we could barely reach. Also, the only way up to the second floor was a ladder, so we lived on the first floor and used the upper floor as an attic for storage. There are a few of these functioning light switches up there as well. The room we made our bedroom was immediately to the left of the front door. We had been living there maybe a month at this point, still not entirely unpacked. One night, we had laid down to go to sleep. Front door was already locked. The lights were turned off. Not even 5 minutes after laying down, my eyes are closed and I hear our bedroom light switch click. I open my eyes and our bedroom light is now on. I look at my husband, who's looking at me confused. Neither of us can reach the light switch from our bed. I look at the switch, it's in the off position, and suddenly I hear a click, and the lights turn off. We both sit up. I spring out of bed and rush over to the light switch and flick it up to turn the lights on. We double checked the front door, and it was definitely locked. We checked the attic, and nothing. There was a point I was convinced someone was living in our attic. I worked from home, but my husband didn't. There would be times I'd text him and tell him I could hear what sounded like footsteps upstairs. He'd come home and check, but of course, nothing was there. We chalked it up to being a squirrel or some other critter, but I know it wasn't. Other than that night with the bedroom light, we hadn't had any other encounters. But I often think of that night. Could a spirit have flicked one of the out of reach light switches? We've never been able to explain how the light was turned on and then off again. We were the only ones there, and we were both in bed, spooked. That concludes this story. First off, it would be tough for me to live in a house that has a graveyard in the back with a church that was founded in the year 1752. That's already setting you up for some spooky encounters, in my opinion. So, and then along with the weird light switch locations and things like that, that's just off-putting, in my in my opinion. It would be weird if there were like light switches near the ceiling and there's a second floor, but you can't really get to it. That's just offsetting, in my opinion. Don't know if I could live there. Second off, it sounds like this house was probably pretty old. So I'm not trying to chalk it up to not being a ghost, but could it be some type of maybe electrical wiring issue to where the light flicked on and then I don't know. I'm just trying to chalk it up to maybe not being a ghost, but it probably was. Who's to say? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, whether it was a ghost, whether it was a critter chewing on the electrical wire, or maybe something else entirely. Just let me know what you think. Alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and dive into the next story. So I can't lie, the next story drew me in because of the title. It just sounded like an interesting story, so we're going to dive into it now. The title is My Roommate is My Best Friend, but She's Insanely Disgusting. Just drew me in, guys. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm a 22-year-old female living with my college best friend, 24 female, in a 2-bed rented apartment. We have our personal rooms, and honestly, the city is bearable because I get to be with her. The only issue is that she isn't what you would call the most hygienic. Now, by this, I don't mean that she doesn't take baths or anything like that, but she never cleans her dishes after eating eggs or anything, doesn't wipe the kitchen counters or even take her hair out of the drain. Now, I know that adult life is hard and it takes time to adjust, but I feel like I'm the only one adjusting. I am not a clean freak per se, but I don't like messes, especially in the kitchen and in the bathroom. I travel 1 hour for work every day and I wake up early just so I can have a nice, peaceful time and come home early. Her office is just 15 minutes away, and she has a big breakfast so she doesn't have to eat lunch. I don't care about that, but after I come back from work, I find the kitchen in the most disgusting way possible. Last night, I had a very bad migraine and I woke up this morning to find eggshells on the counter, yesterday's dirty utensils, the ones used yesterday morning, cheese, butter, everything just lying on the counter. Still having a headache, I cleaned everything. The worst part is, this is not the first time this has happened. She doesn't even do as much to put the dishes in the sink. I let it go. Then I went to the bathroom. I decided to clean the drain because it was getting dirty. I took all the hair out and cleaned it. It's a common area and we don't have personal bathrooms, so it needs to be clean. When she came back, I told her that after taking a shower, let's just take out our own hair and throw it down into the garbage. She replied with, let's just put Drain-X. When I tell her and the house needs to be clean to get positive energy, she says she doesn't believe in all this. What do I do? I get that we have to let things go, but I don't want to end up being exhausted from doing everything while she does nothing. That is the end of our story. Okay, I think that you need to, which it sounds like you're trying, but I feel like the poster needs to have a sit down conversation with their roommate and say, hey, look, this is not working, right? Like, hey, you're not doing your portion of the cleaning, right? Something like that, because like you said, it doesn't sound like you're a clean freak, but if you're gonna take like eggs, butter, all this stuff out of the refrigerator to make breakfast, why are you not putting it back, right? Like there's no reason to take things out of the kitchen, whether it's the pantry, the fridge, wherever, and you're making food, and at the end of making your dish, you don't put it all away. I would say I'm not the same way. I'm not like a uber clean freak, but I am definitely I like things clean. So if I'm making dinner or making breakfast or whatever I'm making, I am making sure at the end of after I make my meal, I'm cleaning all of my dishes, I'm cleaning the sink, I'm throwing everything in the garbage, cleaning the dishes, putting it in either the dishwasher or hand scrubbing them, and then drying them, putting them away. It makes no sense that they would just leave that stuff on the counter. That is crazy to me. And the same thing, I feel the same way about the bathrooms, especially like the shower drain and especially like the toilet, like cleaning the toilet. There's just things that I feel like are common courtesy, especially when you're living with other people, that you should do. And I feel like this roommate is not living up to that. Like they're not holding up their side of the bargain. So either you need to have a really important sit down conversation with them to really reiterate how you feel, or B, you might need to find another roommate or find another place to live because that does not sound enjoyable at all to have to clean up after someone that's also an adult. You're just having to constantly A, clean up after yourself, and B, clean up after someone else. That just does not sound great. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think of that story down in the comments. Sorry, I went on a little tangent there, a little rant, you could say, about how I felt about the situation, but I wholeheartedly agree with the poster here and think that they just need to have a sit down conversation with their roommate. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into another story. Our next story is titled Strange Encounter. It started with my wife. My wife was a car insurance administrator working on settled claims. She was at work one day in the lunchroom where she was talking to a coworker, and my wife was explaining how she kept seeing her father, who had passed away when she was only 11. The lady, my wife's coworker, a native woman who grew up in a spiritual environment, said her grandfather was a medicine man. She told my wife that my wife's father was trying to warn her about something, and that's why she kept seeing him. My wife had no idea what it could be. A couple of days went by, and my wife left for work one morning, and her coworker rushed at her as soon as she saw my wife pulling in. First thing in the morning, even after she stepped out of her car, the lady rushed my wife out of the car and grabbed my wife by her hand and led her to a corner. The lady told my wife that she had a dream about a man. The man in her dream said my wife's name. He said to tell her something. She described the man. My wife's face went pale. She told her coworker, she said, "That's my dad." My wife had a tingle crawl down her spine like an ice cube sliding down her back. The coworker said, "He told me to tell you to be careful. He said that something is there." Later that evening, when my wife and I were lying in bed, it was around 10 p.m., and my wife got up to use the bathroom. Our daughter was around 2 years old at the time. My wife pulled the covers off and went to the washroom. While she was on the toilet, she heard a knock at the door, a faint tap. She answered by yelling, "Yeah?" No one answered. She figured she had just imagined it, until there was another knock. She hollered, "What?" Then a voice spoke through the door. "Hurry, I gotta pee." It was the voice of a small girl. My mom squinted while thinking. She thought about our daughter, then realized the voice sounded older. Then she tried to recollect, scattering her brain, assuming she forgot that someone stayed over. She flushed the toilet, pulled up her pants, and opened the door. No one was there. She washed up and went to the bedroom where I was watching TV. She didn't mention what happened at the time, she just laid next to me and kept it in the back of her mind. About 15 minutes later, I got up to make a sandwich. I walked down the hallway and I swear I heard a girl say, "Hey." I turned to look towards the room. I walked back to the bedroom and I asked my wife if she had called me. She was there reading a book with the covers up to her chest. She said no, and I thought nothing of it, brushed it off, and turned back to head to the kitchen. I walked through the hallway, darkened in blackness, and as soon as I reached the middle of the staircase, I heard a whisper over my shoulder. "Where are you going?" tickled my ear. A voice with texture that felt like a breath spoke faintly. It sounded like a thought that had just escaped my mind. Without thinking, because it was so clear, and even before I turned around, I said, "I'm going to make a..." Then I paused for a second, and then it hit me. I stopped, snapped my head over my shoulder. I didn't see anybody standing there. I should have been seeing someone stand there. I sprinted up those stairs and raced to the bedroom and jumped on the bed and clammed next to my wife. I told her what had just happened. Then she told me about the bathroom incident. While she finished explaining her story, something caught the corner of my eye, and I stared at the ceiling. I nudged my wife and said, "You see that?" She looked up and said, "Yeah, what is it?" It was a gray, smoky like mist hovering at the corner of the ceiling. A couple seconds later, it dispersed. That is the end of our story. That's a crazy story. For the wife not to say anything at first, having that whole encounter, that's crazy work. So, I would have definitely said something to the husband. And then the husband goes and has a strange like encounter and he's like, "Oh heck no." And he freaks out. I would have been out of the house immediately. There's no way I'm going back to bed. We're going to a hotel for the night, guys. That would have been me because there is absolutely no way that I would be trying to go to bed and then seeing that smoke gray mist thing. Yep, that's wraps for me. I'm out of there. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Pretty crazy story. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into our next one. So our next story is going to be a wholesome one. It is titled, "I Found My Soulmate Because of a Wrong Number." I texted what I thought was my best friend's number, venting about a genuinely awful day. 3 paragraphs of pure, unfiltered complaining before I got a reply. "I think you have the wrong number, but honestly, sounds like a rough one. I hope it gets better." Mortified, I apologized, and the stranger on the other end, instead of letting it just end there, kept the conversation going out of what I can only assume was genuine kindness or supreme boredom. We texted for 2 weeks straight before ever exchanging names properly. We met in person a month later, both nervous, both half convinced this was either the best or strangest idea either of us ever had. We've been together 3 years now. At our engagement party, I made everyone read the first very wrong number text out loud, unedited, complaining and all, much to my own embarrassment and everyone else's delight. That story is now over. That was a quick one, but I thought it was a wholesome one that I just wanted to kind of push in here and add to our video. I was reading through it and just thought, wow, that's pretty cool to think that she was texting her friend or who she thought was her friend's number, and it ended up being a random person that had enough genuine, either like she said, boredom or genuine kindness to respond and listen out to the OP's problems that were happening in her life. And that's pretty cool that there's people out there, and look, it turned into a great, you know, encounter, and then now they're engaged and going to be married. So that is pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, and we'll go ahead and jump into our next story. Our next story is titled, "Am I in the Wrong for Calling My Girlfriend's Behavior Odd?" My girlfriend is away for a week for some work training. She's been nervous and numerous times has stated that she wished she knew someone else that was going. Yesterday, at the end of day one, she states that she ran into someone there also attending the training that she knew briefly years ago when she left a job. According to her backstory, would barely consider him even an acquaintance, as they crossed paths minimally, and the last interaction she had was asking him if he could apply for her job when she was leaving. She suddenly became what I would say as weirdly infatuated with him. She first contacted her kids, early/mid 20s, to tell them she ran into him. Her son asked what she looked like, so she took a picture of him to send to her kids, and seemed annoyed when her son said he didn't remember him. First, she told me, I sent them a picture, but they haven't responded yet. Then, oh wait, they responded. Hang on. Like it was the most utmost importance. And then her response to her son for not remembering him was, yes, you do. I jokingly said, well, now you've got a dinner date. Then she blew him off with a, he's like 25 years younger than me. But then she said she'd offered to drive him to training to the hotel instead of her taking an Uber by herself, which was covered by the company, so it's not like she was paying for it. And then she mentioned maybe he'll walk around the campus with me. This is a big training area with an almost like Disney World Google allure to it, massive art sites, etc. Apparently, something to really take in. But why would you do that with someone who's basically a stranger? So I said it seems odd to do slash say all of this. She asked if it was a female, would you still say that? I said yes. To run into a old, barely acquaintance is one thing. Hey, good to see you. Where are you working now? Type of catching up, maybe one thing. But to be taking pictures, send to your kids, ask if they remember him, be annoyed when they don't, and then want to walk the campus together would be weird to me, even if it's a female. And perhaps it would be one thing if she worked with him for 10 years or something, but she even said, I don't really know him. So I reiterated that, yeah, very odd behavior, and she seems infatuated with a stranger. She said, I'm gonna let you go. I can't talk to you about this right now. I haven't spoken to her since yesterday around 6 p.m. Other than this morning when I said good morning and good luck with class, she said thank you. So, am I overreacting? There's an edit here, so I'll go ahead and read this as well. She called me to talk about something else, but she was in mid conversation with him when I answered. She said they were going to a play, so I hung up on her and we've been texting, and she says, don't understand what the problem is. She still thinks she's done nothing wrong, and in her head, maybe she's right. Although she's hanging out with him, going to plays, dinner, whatever, she says I'm ruining her trip and causing her to lose focus on her training. I told her she can't accept accountability and actions have consequences, so we're breaking up. And that's the end of our story. Okay, I would find that really weird if my partner was doing something like that. So I completely understand. Especially, it's just weird that at first she seemed like she really wanted someone that she knew to be, at this training. And then all of a sudden she found someone that she barely knew and then went from, oh, I barely know this person to, oh, we're going to dinner. Oh, we're going to walk around and see all these sites. Oh, now we're going to a play together. That, in my opinion, is very weird. And as if that was my partner doing that, it would be very off putting. So I definitely understand where the poster is coming from. And I completely understand why they are wanting to break up with their partner because at the end of the day, I think this kind of comes down to respect. And if you feel like your partner is crossing a line, which it sounds like that's what the poster is explaining, and the poster sounds like he's let her know that he does not appreciate this, does not like this, and thinks it's weird. He's let his partner know, and she's still doing it. And sounds like she's like, I don't understand what the problem is, and doesn't sound like she's taking his feelings into account whatsoever. So I completely understand where the poster is coming from, and honestly, I think I agree with him. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let's go ahead and get into our next story. Our next story is titled, My Girlfriend Has Been Entertaining a Guy in Her DMs. My girlfriend and I have been dating for about a year now. She posted a TikTok a few days ago. The comments were just her friends, except for one. It was some random guy that I had never met before. She had no idea who it was either. His opening DM to her was, Wow, you're beautiful, which she responded with, Thank you, and nice feet in your profile picture. They had been distorted by water in a pool. She did tell me about this and sent a screenshot. I did think it was a little flirty. He then asked how old she was and where she was from, which she did answer. Just trying to figure out who he was because he did have some mutual friends of hers, but He gave her his number and a name, and she didn't recognize, so she stopped messaging him back. The next day, I got a DM from him. He explained his reasoning for texting me was because I was the only other guy who had commented. My comment contained things that made it obvious I know her in real life. He then asked if I was her boyfriend, not saying yes or no, I just asked why. He then sent me screenshots of the chat and said she hadn't responded since last night, but did follow him back that morning, which she had never disclosed to me. When I confronted her, she explained her reasoning was that she wanted to see if he had any friends or posts, because he did have over 30,000 likes. I let it slide because that excuse made enough sense to me at the time, even though it did bother me that she didn't unfollow him after. I thought it was just a weird instance and nothing would come of it, but then he DMs me again and said she had liked his stories. It was a picture of him at the gym shirtless. This time I called her to confront her instead of texting. When I asked about it, she replied, "I don't know," in a timid voice. Out of frustration, I hung up. I then asked her why she did it over text. Now she had an excuse. I will copy and paste it. Because on TikTok, sometimes stories just go through when I swipe. Because, like I said earlier, I didn't want to open up the story, so I made Ashlyn remember. But then I was swiping, then it came up, and I just felt bad because I never responded. I just completely ghosted, so I thought it would be out of honesty and be something nice I could do. Again, I'm not messaging or anything like that at all, and if I wanted to, I could. I mean, if you're uncomfortable, I have no issue blocking him or whatever. I just wanted to make sure I'm not overthinking this. We are long distance right now. We have been for the last 2 months, but it's coming to a close. She is out of the country. I'm just worried that this isn't the only time this has happened, and it's just the one I know about. That story is now over. Okay, in my opinion, she should not be entertaining a guy like this at all. In my honest opinion, I really think he should break up with her. I mean, it's obviously his call, but I just think when you're in a relationship, you should not entertain anyone at any time, no matter what they say or do. Because, okay, the guy opens with, "Hey, you're beautiful," or whatever. She shouldn't have even responded to this guy, in my opinion. Like, you have a boyfriend and, you've been dating for over a year. Why do you have the need to respond to some random guy? I don't know. If some random woman reached out to me and said something, I'm married, I would first off tell my wife. Second off, I wouldn't respond because I have respect for my wife. And I know the same would go for her. She wouldn't respond and she would let me know because she has respect for me. We have respect for each other, mutual respect. You should have mutual respect um, for you and your partner back to you. So I just think that she is entertaining him, which is weird. And I know that she said if he feels uncomfortable, she could block him, but why is she even responding in the first place or liking stories or anything? You shouldn't feel bad. You have a boyfriend. I don't know. I just feel like the poster should really have a sit down talk with her and explain how this is bothering him, or B, break up with her. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. This next story is another story that really drew me in with the title. The title of this story is The Slip and Slide of Regret. Come on, you have to read that right. I, 24 male, went to visit my sister and brother in law in North Carolina for the 4th of July. I flew out there on Friday for the weekend and got there at about 11 a.m. We went mountain biking and went to some breweries in the area and just hung out on Friday. Saturday, we went on a hike, and then we went back to their house to set up for the party, and they were going to throw it that evening. We set up the pool, set out the food, and then just had to set up the slip and slide. We took painter's plastic and staked it into the ground on the hill behind them and their neighbor's property, who were also coming to the party, and we got it all set up. What we didn't notice was right at the bottom of it was some newly budding poison oak that had hidden in the grass. 5 o'clock rolls around and people start showing up for the party. We're grilling, hanging out in the pool, and having a good time overall. About 7 o'clock, everyone's pretty tuned up at this point, so it was time for the slip and slide. I couldn't tell you how many of us went down it and slid straight through that poison oak. Some were lucky and missed it, but almost 2 weeks later now, I and several others have poison oak rashes on multiple spots. It's on my hands, my legs, and some of my arms. I'm itching nonstop and have gone to the doctor for steroids and ointment. It's honestly not a huge regret, but thought I'd share it and humor you. Overall, it was a great weekend aside from that. That story is now over. That is awful. I cannot tell you, I love doing like water slides or slip and slides. Actually, for my last two birthday parties, we've done like the big inflatable, like 30-foot slides. I might be in my 20s, but I'm still a kid at heart, okay? You're still allowed to do that. And my buddies, we've all had a really, really good time. So we've done it, like I said, the last 2 years, and both years had a really, really fun time with it. But I cannot imagine. That is awful. I'm happy that some people, it sounds like, made it through unscathed, but unfortunately for the OP and for the others, they were not as lucky. But hopefully, I mean, you went to the doctor, you got steroids and medication. I'm like, what else can you do? I feel like that's the most you can truly do. Hopefully, just time will tell, I guess. Eventually that'll start to wear away. Fingers crossed. But let me know what you guys think about that story in the comments, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next. Our final story today is coming from r slash silly confession and is titled, This is So Embarrassing. I went on a date yesterday, and after we left, my stomach was in shambles. I couldn't help but tell him how much it hurt. He tried to find a bathroom for me where we were around, but it was late and almost nothing was open. He then turns to me and says, You might have to squat and take a poop outside. I was like, hell no. Then he hands me a towel. The pain I was feeling was unbearable. He went into a shading parking lot and I pooped in the parking lot. I used the towel and baby wipes and got back in the car and we continued our night. LMAO, I am so embarrassed. That story is now over. I don't know about you guys, but when you gotta go, you gotta go. So it hit her at a bad time. It sounds like it hit our poster at a bad time, but it's kind of funny. It sounds like the boyfriend or the guy that's on the date kind of took it in stride and tried his best to help her, which is very considerate in her time of need. So honestly, I agree with the top comments that this is how people who are married for 900 years start their love story, and I agree. Hopefully, there's another date after this. But it sounds very, very considerate of the guy on the date with her, and yeah, just kind of a funny, embarrassing story overall. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Alrighty, guys, I think that's gonna do it for me today. I really appreciate you, especially if you've made it this far, for tuning into these videos. I cannot tell you how much it means to me. It really does mean the world. Let me know if there's any way that I can improve these videos for you down in the comments below. If you like this content and want to see more of it, liking would be epic. Subscribing would also be epic. I would appreciate either. And if you want me to read a story of your own, or maybe just a story that you found online, feel free to send it to the email down in the description. Again, just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in, watching these videos, liking and commenting and subscribing. It truly means the world to me, and I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate it. Alrighty, guys, I think that's going to do it for me, so I'll catch you in the next video. Love you guys. Peace.